Welcome to On the Brink with Andi Simon. Hi, I'm Andi Simon, and as you know, I'm your host and your guide. And our podcast, designed around an anthropological theme, is to help you see, feel, and think in new ways so you can get off the brink. And I go looking for people who are going to help you with their own life story, give you ideas about how you can grow, you can change your business, change your own self. It's a great time for us to step back and look at what's going on around us and find a pathway that makes us happy. So today I have Rashmi Chaturvedi, and I think this is going to be a wonderful conversation today. A successful woman, and her story is going to give you some insights in how women have to often be very agile and adapt as the times change, but you can be as well. Her bio. Rashmi is a co-founder and president of Cajun. She's going to tell you about the name, a minority woman-owned company comprised of a team of experienced technologists. Created in 2003 to offer talent solutions and technology consulting to clients worldwide, she focuses on helping businesses in all areas of digital transformation. And those are exactly what we're doing now. Cajun is notably derived from the Japanese word kaizen, means continuous improvement, providing services that not only create efficiencies, but also allow for a more sustainable competitive advantage in the marketplace. And that's her vision and her mission. She had more than 25 years of expertise to her industry. Prior to forming Cajun, she was leading business transformation for the Walt Disney Company for more than a decade, and she held several leading roles with Nextel Communications as well. She has a wonderful and long bio here that I could read, but I think for today's podcast, I'm much more interested in her telling you about her own journey. It puts a softness on facts because this is a woman who's an engineer and a leader in tech. Among other women, that's really wonderful and unique. But I've done many talks about how women can thrive in male-dominated industries, tech being one of them, and she's going to be able to help you a little bit. She has many honors and awards, including the Top 50 Women Leaders of Los Angeles for 2022 by Women We Admire, and Top 40 Women-Owned Businesses by Orange County Business Journal, and I could go down the list. She's wonderful. She is a graduate of Nursi Monji College of Commerce and Economics in Bombay, India. I've had clients in India. It's a wonderful experience if you ever have the opportunity to go, but also to work there or to be part of a great transformation. Rashmi, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Andi.
Tell our listeners, who are you? What's your journey been like? How did you get to where we are now? And Cajun is a wonderful next phase in a wonderful journey for yourself. Please, your story.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you for the bio and the wonderful introduction. Um, I think first I'm a mom. I have two very wonderful, smart, uh, young adults, as I would say them. And it's been a pleasure, being able to share my experiences with my children so that there's a path forward for them to learn and build their own experience. But then second, I'm an entrepreneur and I love building companies. I love building companies with a purpose and a mission to help our next generation. And third, I'm a wife and a daughter, and I love my parents, and my parents are my first mentors, and my mom is a teacher, and I see a lot of my dad is an engineer, so I see a lot of what I do now resembles what my parents envisioned for me, which I think as young adults they don't want to hear that, but in the end you start reflecting that and you start appreciating what your parents are. So that's a little bit about me.
Well, then how long have you been in the United States? How did you come here? How did you get to Nextel? What's the part of the story that we need to share? Because it is a reflection of your ingenuity and your entrepreneurial spirit, even with the large companies. How'd that happen?
It's an interesting story. My journey to Nextel, as you may know, Nextel was acquired by Sprint in 2004, so now it's Sprint Communications. But I came to the US in 99, And my older brother was working for Intel in Sunnyvale in California in the Bay Area. And I had finished my master's and I wanted to do some work. I didn't know how to work in the States because you need a visa. And I was very new to the States, had never traveled within the country. And so I decided to apply for a job and I applied for Nextel. And the next day I got a call from the recruiter. We have the fair, we have a campus fair in Atlanta. So would you like to come? And I said yes. They sent me a ticket. I got on the flight. But they say everything happens for a reason, and I believe that. Every change that happens, you have to take it with a grain of salt and see what's good going to come out of it. And so I had a connecting flight to Atlanta from the Bay Area, and my connecting flight got delayed. So I waited for the next flight, and this is me traveling first time in the US. Got on the next flight, got to Atlanta. It was pretty late. I would say it was probably around 4 o'clock. The fair was only till 5 p.m., so I was already very late. They had arranged a van pool, so the van pool took me and some other people to Nextel. On the way, and this is really interesting, uh, the van pool ran with an accident. It met with an accident on Peach Street and Peach Street.
Oh no.
So, so everybody gets out of the van pool, and we're thinking, well, what do we do now? So I call my HR contact at Nextel and I told her, we met with an accident. I don't know what to do now. And she said, well, take a cab and get to the office. And so this is still around, I think, 4:30, so they're still open. And so I take a cab and, in all that commotion, it took a good 30, 40 minutes to get to Nextel, and now it's 5:30 and they're closed. So So I get there, lights shut down, nobody's in the building. There's a security guard outside, and I told him I'm here for an interview. Back then we had papers, so I had a paper which shows the interview details. And I showed him that and I said, I have this interview, I have to go up. And he's like, sorry, ma'am, we're closed. Come back tomorrow. I'm like, I have a flight, I have to go back home. And he said, well, sorry, we are closed for today. And I just stood there for a minute and I said, well, I have to get up there. I have to see because I did talk to somebody and maybe she's waiting for me.
Uh-huh.
So I tried calling her. I didn't get an answer. But in my gut, I felt like somebody was there waiting for me. And I had come all this way for the first time in the country and I just didn't want to go back home. And so I pleaded and I said, can I just go up and look and come back? And if you don't mind, just give me a minute and you can come with me if you like. So he believed me and he let me go up. I go up to the fifth floor and the whole place was dark. There was nobody there, it was lights out. But there was one light at the end of the corner office that seemed like somebody was there because it was lit. And so I didn't think twice. I just started walking to the corner office. And there was a senior executive sitting in that office. She looked like she was doing something very busy work, and she looked very serious about whatever she was doing. And I walked in, I knocked on the door, I asked her, can I please talk to you for a minute? And I I was like panicking at that point because in my head, all these thoughts were going, I came all this way. I have to meet the right person. I have to make sure, at least I get to talk to somebody. So I go in and she's a very sweet lady. She said, who are you? What do you want? And I just started going really fast, telling her this happened to me and this happened to me, and I'm here and nobody's here and I don't know what to do. And I'm 23 years old, so I'm very young at that point. So you can imagine, the Gen Zs and, it's just, you're in that panic mode. And she said, sit down. So I just sat down and then she gave me a glass of water and she said, what job were you looking for? And what did you interview for? And I said, I interviewed for a database administrator and this person was going to interview me here. And she looked at me for a second and she said, you got the job.
Oh, you can't make that up, can you? You can't create it into a novel. It just is life.
It's
Wow.
life.
Was
And
she
then
the boss or was she the HR person or who was she?
I think she was a senior VP or probably the head of that division. It seemed like I did ask her for her business card, and she said, "I don't think you're ever going to meet me again, so there's no point in giving you my."
So the next day, did you come back or did you go back home?
So she asked me what time is my flight, and I think my flight was in 2 hours, and she said, "You know what? I don't want you to miss my flight. I'm going to the airport. I'm going to drop you in my limousine." So she took me in a limousine to the airport, made sure I got home. Um, but yeah, but I tell this story to my kids because it's determination and perseverance. And if you believe that you have a goal and you're going to get there, life might throw challenges at you, but if you believe it, it's going to happen.
Yep. But what's also going to happen are the serendipitous moments that you can plan for, but you have to dig deep and be persistent, agile, and self-confident, not arrogant about it, but just, humbly trying to do the right thing and not knowing what to do. It's okay. So how long did you stay at Nextel and what kind of a job did you get?
I was a database administrator for, you've heard of the company Oracle, so it's a product company. So I was a database administrator for them, but they were wonderful. They were based in Oakland, in California, and I had an amazing team of mentors, people that really cared. And when they heard about it and I joined, they were all very helpful. They wanted to make sure that I was welcomed in the company.
Nice.
And I had one mentor who would really help me understand the system. And then I had another one who would help me understand the culture, make sure that I felt my first job in the US was really fun and exciting and a good place to learn. So I had a really good time in Excel.
That is really interesting, mostly because people don't expect large companies to necessarily do that, but they were doing it in quite a long time ago with almost intuitive. Perfect. And you spent how long did you spend at Nextel?
I was there 2 years because I loved the company, but they were moving to Atlanta.
Uh-huh.
And I had family, I had my brother was in Bay Area, so I wanted to stay close to him. And just the thought of moving to another state was a little bit scary for me to
I
like
could
just
appreciate
leave
it.
the one person I knew. So I didn't want to move.
And from there you got into the Disney Corporation.
So that's an interesting story because um I came back from work one day from Nextel and I knew I didn't want to go to Atlanta, but I just didn't know what I would do. And I was browsing on the internet and Disney ad came up and it said Disneyland. And I had never been to Disneyland. And that was one of my dreams is how do I get to Disneyland? And so I was clicking on that and I saw careers. So I click on careers and it says Oracle Database Administrator. And I said, but that's what I do. So, so obviously I applied. The next morning, the person from HR calls me the next morning and she said, "You are doing exactly what we are planning to do at Disney. So we want you to come for an interview."
Oh, that's so interesting.
And I was ecstatic. I jumped on my bed for 5 minutes because I just couldn't believe this was happening. But then I went for the interview. I was interviewed by the senior director there, and probably 10 minutes we must have talked, and he said, "You're hired."
Now, just a note for our listeners, in the world that we're in today, this could also happen to you, but it doesn't happen all that often. I mean, you clearly brought to them expertise and experience in a person who they found very desirable. Is that how it all came together? I mean, you just had the right stuff at the right time.
I think so. I think it just the opportunity came at the right time because whatever I had done was what they were planning to do with their application. And so my skills were very much required in the market. And it was the perfect time because I wanted to still be in California, be close to my family, but then work for a large company
I know.
um, and have unlimited access to Disneyland. So it was the perfect blend.
Oh, that is just Wonderful. And so the Disney story, how did that develop? Where'd you do there?
So
How what happened there?
I worked for Disney for a long time. It's a wonderful place to work. You know, they say it's one of the happiest place to work. I think externally, for people who visit Disney theme parks or resorts, but also internally, they really care about their employees. It's very diverse, it's very inclusive. But for me, I think back then, this is 2000 or 2001, there were very few women in the tech space. And for me, I always struggled to find that balance of, how do you build your how do you build your experience? How are you able to talk about and self-express your thoughts? So when I would go to meetings, it was mostly men or maybe me and another woman. And I felt no confidence in speaking my thoughts or why my experience was relevant for the projects I was doing because I wasn't taken seriously.
Uh-huh.
And that always bothered me is how do I make them see the validity and trust from my experience that I was hired for? And one day, this one woman walks in. She really was amazing. She was a very smart lady. She would carry this like big briefcase that would walk with her, like, when you go to the airport and you have this like carry-on bag. Back in the day where you put your laptop and your work items, she had that and she would walk around with that. And she would come into meetings and she would just say, "You're gonna do this, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do this. Everybody has work to do. Okay." And then she would leave, and I would be like, I want to be like her. I want to be in power. I want to be able to be someone that's respected and heard and listened to. So I wanted to figure out a way to talk to her. So every time I would go to her admin to ask for time, she had no time. She was busy from morning to night. And in my head, I needed to find a way to talk to her. So one day I was in the restroom washing my hands, and in walks Nancy. And I just took that moment and I asked her, and I said, "Nancy, I really admire you. You've been in my inspiration. I want to be like you. And is there a way I can learn from you? Can you be my mentor?" And she said, yes.
In the ladies' room. It's a great story. Keep showing up, and who knows? And just speak your mind. Isn't that wonderful? She must have been
Mhm.
a fabulous mentor.
She is. And, fast forward, and I'll talk more about the program that I'm building, but she's on my board, my advisory board now. We've been in contact. It's been 25 years now, but she's still been in contact. She still believes in me and she's still supporting me. So I'm really blessed to have such wonderful women in my career.
I'm curious, Rashmi, did she talk about things like how do you assume authority, responsibility, speak? I mean, were these the kinds of things that she could help you skill develop, or just watching her? Were you mimicking her? Give the audience some idea of how you did this.
So she would meet with me every week and would ask me, what do you want to be? What is your perception of where do you want to go? For me, it was more understanding because I was very technical. I wanted to understand the business. I wanted to understand the different functions in the business to really understand what are we delivering to our customers? What is that aha moment for our customers and how do we get there? Because I always believe customers come first. If we understand our customers, we understand their needs, then we build technology that's relevant to them. And so I was always intrigued in understanding what is that happy moment for the customers and then build that. And so she helped me understand the different functions in Disney. She helped me move around to different departments so I could really understand the story of, how things come to life and then what's the right technology to implement and bring it to life. And that really made me feel whole, where I could actually talk about the end-to-end product from the starting of like what is the pain point with the customer to actually building something that actually makes a difference to
Hmm.
that customer.
What a wonderful opportunity to learn from somebody like this woman in a way that gives you a holistic approach to business not just to the technical side of what you're doing. And because you could have stayed in the technical side and been a better technician, but in fact, you wanted a bigger, holistic. That's really cool. I have a hunch that's what you're bringing to your clients now in your company. Yeah. But there's a story about how the company came about also. You want to share it?
Yes, so I had completed my 10 years at Disney and I loved every moment of it. My daughter was, I have two kids. So my son was, I think, 5.5 by then, and my daughter was 3. And she got sick, and we didn't know what was wrong with her, but she was very sick, and she was hospitalized for 2 weeks. And she had a very high fever, around 104, and that was very worrisome for us. So I took an extended sick leave to take care of her. And then once she got out of the hospital, she had lost 5 pounds, which is a lot for a 3-year-old child.
Yep.
And I couldn't think twice. I just wanted to be with her. I wanted to make sure she's okay. And so I didn't think twice. I just quit my job.
Oh,
And I just could think about what can I do to make her better, make her healthy. And as a mom, that was my first calling. And so I stayed with her home for a year. She got better and she went back to, I think she was in kindergarten or preschool. And then Disney called me and they said, why don't you come back to work? And I would have loved to go back, but back in the day, there was no work from home. So you had to be at work 5 days a week.
yep.
And I had that feeling in my mind that what if something happens and I don't have enough time to run back to her school and pick her up? And it just, as a mom, I always had the feeling that I needed to be close to her. And so my husband really helped me. He became my mentor and he said, why don't you, we had started Cajun at that point. And he said, you have done so much work for such large companies. Why can't you do that for other companies? You have that experience, you have that knowledge. You can do that yourself. I didn't believe that I could do it, but he helped me realize that, yes, I could do it. And so I started a practice for data management. And in the first year, we grew 100%
Oh my.
with just 2 clients. And it just made me realize, you know what? I can do this.
Yeah.
I have the skills to do this myself.
Now, you said before you're an entrepreneur. Did you know you were an entrepreneur before you became an entrepreneur?
No, I was an individual contributor and I was very happy in my life.
And now I bet you're very happy doing what you're doing and building a business as well. So tell the listeners a bit about the business. I mean, how has it grown and what have you learned?
We've grown quite a bit. We received the Inc. 5000 award last year. We grew 83% in 3 years.
Wow.
And we are global. We help companies across the globe, especially with digital transformation. So it's a lot about, cloud, AI, and data, because data is like now the new oil for all our customers. And it's how can they find relevant information from their data to be more competitive in the marketplace.
Mhm.
But I think it's been fun and it's been a really fun journey. For me, it's all about because I've learned so much from my mentors, it's all about how can I mentor my team so they can perform and find the best versions of themselves. Because everybody has that unique ability to do something, but somebody has to help them realize that. And when they do, they can really perform much better. And so that's what I feel is my unique ability to help my team, do better. And then when they do better, when my team is happy, my customers are happy. So
And
that's,
that is so interesting. And I bet your customers are coming a lot from word of mouth and from just being out there. Yep.
yes,
And they're all lining up to work with you, huh?
yes.
Though it's interesting because their need is something you're articulating in a way that isn't tactical and practical. It's very big picture visionary. Or am I missing it?
Um, I think I do have that vision and I have somewhere where I want to be in the next 5 years. But I think it's also like putting a plan. So I have advisors I have in the company and we meet every week. and we discuss, we have a business plan, but we believe more in execution.
Hmm.
And to do execution, you have to be on it every week. Because
Yep.
if you lose sight, you get in your business and you start working, you lose sight of your goals. So
Yes.
you have to work on them every week to make sure you're still aligned with what you want to achieve.
It's interesting because I finished a conversation with a client of ours along exactly those lines. You can be thinking that you're on a trajectory going somewhere, only to realize that you have five direct reports, all of whom are going in different places. And they all think they're going in the right place, but it's not there at all. So your weekly meetings are really interesting. Is it diverse, your workforce?
Yeah, my workforce is very diverse. We believe in different thoughts
Hmm.
because everybody brings their own unique abilities and their strengths. And we also look at weaknesses as areas of improvement. So we always look at how can we create a good team where everybody has some unique strength and they can help each other.
That's cool. That's quite a collaboration. One of the things that you and I talked about, and that I'd like to make sure we don't miss, is that you're also a company with purpose. You're not just, making profits, you have significance. How are we doing that? How are you doing that?
So I've seen as an engineer and as a woman in STEM, I've seen this underrepresentation of women in STEM. And even though we have amazing universities with great programs for STEM, we are not able to attract as a country, we're not able to attract women. There's a lot of reasons, and I've done a lot of research on this, but there's a lot of reasons why women don't want to get into STEM.
Mm,
One, it's challenging. Two, it's not I think women like to have a place where they can belong. They can feel that feeling of belonging, and they don't feel that feeling when they're in STEM because they feel alone, they feel isolated.
yeah.
And third, women want to be where they can be inspired by somebody like them, but they don't see anybody like them in leadership. So they feel they can never get there.
Now,
So
true. And so what are you, I have a hunch you're doing some big stuff to help them.
So I launched a program this year, and it's more about helping women who are actually who care about their career, who are passionate about their career. And so we are looking at women who are going back to school to get their graduate degree in data science or computer science because there's so much growth and there's exponential growth in data now, as especially with AI. AI can only work if you have the right data sets.
Yes.
If your data is clean, you get the right reporting, and then AI can actually use that to, build different algorithms or give you the right information. But if your data is not clean, AI can't do anything with it.
Yep.
So there is a huge growth in AI. And so there's many more colleges coming up with programs for data science as a master's program. And so we are looking at women who are really looking to grow their career. They care about their career. They care about going back to school. And so we want to help those women because they're already individually motivated to make a difference. And so we've created a program. It's called Uptempo Careers, and you can go on the website and look up Uptempo Careers. But our focus is threefold. One is to help them get jobs because a lot of these women don't get jobs because one, they don't have confidence. And
Hmm.
two, when historically you've seen that when you look at a job description and it says must have 5 years of experience, must have this, if women don't see that they have it, they don't apply.
Yes.
And so that's a big problem. So we are helping by coaching them. We are helping that by helping them get mock interviews to say, yes, you have that confidence. Yes, you have the right skills to get the job. And then the most important part is mentorship. If they can get mentored by C-level executives that look like them, and
Yeah.
they see that, yes, I can be that person one day, they have more reason and more motivation to go through the program and get that job and get into STEM. And so for us, it's about job opportunities, professional development coaching, mentorship, and then having a community of these women to talk to each other and inspire each other.
This is so important on so many levels because I think it was Marion Wright Edelman said, if you can't see it, you can't be it. And that's a real problem because if you don't see women in STEM who are successful role models, who can help and mentor you. And humans want to belong, that we're copycats. We need a community where we're among others who are like us. And in the absence of that, it's very lonely. That's very cool. So, what's next for you, other than being the great lady that you are?
I want to support this program. I want to see more women in STEM. And I think I'm going to devote more of my time on this program to see how I can help uh, grow and, build my legacy around this.
Well, I think this is wonderful. I do think we're about ready to wrap up. You've given us a beautiful story. I think our listeners probably want one or two things that you have found very helpful. I mean, I've made my little list here while you're talking about things not to forget. One or two things you don't want them to forget when they say goodbye and we say goodbye to them. What's important?
I think not giving up,
Hmm.
keep going, and if you have a goal in mind, it doesn't matter how many obstacles come your way. You just have to keep going. You have to believe in the outcome, in the end goal. And if you believe in it, whatever is thrown your way, just disregard it and keep moving. And if you keep moving, you're going to get there. Somehow or the other way, you're going to get there.
Well, but as you're listening to Rashmi, think about her Atlanta story, getting up in the elevator to the 25th floor, the fifth floor to find somebody still there who hires her. I mean, this is about life, and you need to be confident and competent, and believe in yourself and have that self-confidence to keep going. So, on that note, I'm going to thank our audience for coming today. As you know, we do these podcasts to share with you great stories so you can see, feel, and think in new ways about yourself, perhaps your business, perhaps you are an entrepreneur and it's time to go out, or perhaps others who you can mentor and help bring along. But these are changing times, and I love the part about data. In Anthropology 101, I remember being told out of context data does not exist, or data do not exist. And so now what AI is doing is trying to put it into context. But if it's not good, it's not good data, it's not good stories. But we have lots of work to do, and there are lots of jobs coming as well. But this is an exciting time for change. And that's what we do. So remember, we are corporate anthropologists. We help companies and the people inside them change. My job is to help you see, feel, and think in new ways. And I do think that it's a great time for you to reassess who you are, what you're doing, and what you'd like to do. Our books are all available at Amazon, on the brink, a fresh lens to take your business to new heights. A Rethink, Smashing the Myths of Women in Business, and the new book, Women Mean Business. Over 500 insights from extraordinary leaders to help spark your success. It's about wonderful women who want to share with you, like Rashmi did today, the kinds of stories that'll help you change and grow. I wish you a happy day. Rashmi, thank you for joining me today. Take care now. Bye bye.